If you have an SG20 sprayer and you love it, try to always remember to throw some oil right here. I guess maybe you would call this the plunger. I'm not sure if that's right, but so just one drop in each side of it in these holes right here. Whoa. And if you don't do that, eventually this will bind up and it'll stop working. It will spray for a while before it does that, but it will bind up eventually. So the steel in the manual says to oil it before work, which I think means every time before you use it. I'm always walking up a hill somewhere. Who needs hiking when you got this gig? I'm about to go hiking off trail. So I'm going to go spray the poison oak over on this hillside. And when I was weed whacking this whole area, I couldn't do parts of this hillside because there's patches of poison oak, quite a few of them. The good thing is these patches of poison oak are relatively small, so I don't think I'm gonna have too much of a hard time walking around here through this and avoiding getting it all over me. Because I've seen some areas before where it's a huge jungle of poison oak. You really can't even walk through it without brushing up against it. I'm priming it up, gonna make sure there's some suds there. A little more. There we go. So I put probably around 5 ounces per gallon. I got 3.5 gallons on me right now, and I put around 5 ounces per gallon of glyphosate. I made this up pretty strong. I've only sprayed poison oak one other time. I know it's effective on it from what I've read, but you know, I put a little extra in there just to be safe. Sweet revenge. This stuff has gotten me many times, and if I'm not careful, it's gonna get me again today. So typically when I'm spraying normal weeds, I go with around 3 ounces per gallon. 2 ounces works. 2 to 3 ounces per gallon. You don't need any more than that. But some of these poison oak patches might be pretty tough. Woody stems. I mean, this stuff can get pretty big. Crawl up trees. It's like a rope. And my apologies, I don't have any windscreen on my mic. I gotta find that thing at home. Should be using the windscreen right now. So for anyone who's never really done much spraying, when you spray, you just want to coat all the leaves. You want to just spray all the foliage of the plant, get everything coated. So that's not poison oak. There's stuff here that's not poison oak. But you just want to get whatever you're spraying coated, sitting there and just hosing it down and just keeping going and going, and spraying the dirt is not going to do anything. When you get this stuff on the dirt, it really doesn't do anything. When you're spraying, it's best to do it in sections, kind of imagine rows, and stay on some kind of pattern just so you're not double spraying everything, because you know, spraying stuff twice isn't really going to do much for you unless you didn't cover it the first time. And if you want to get some kind of dye, there's dyes available that you add to your tank, and that way you can see where you've sprayed. And those dyes are supposed to fade off. You know, they're not permanent, but I've never wanted to use that stuff at a customer's house. There's just no point in dealing with that. A little bit heavy heading up the steep hill, not too bad. So I'm not soaking down the dirt, I'm just making sure that all the foliage is covered. And the wind's really not too bad right now. This is a really windy area, and I could have definitely started like an hour earlier. I always start late, a little later than I should. Seems to be always windy when I'm spraying. And when there is wind, I definitely like to stand behind the wind. I mean, if the wind shifts, I'll put effort in to stand behind the wind so it's not blowing right in my direction. So this hill really isn't that bad. The last time I did something like this, I actually got a lot of poison oak, and I don't know if it was from cutting poison oak. I'm almost slipping around there. I had just accidentally cut a bunch of poison oak a few days earlier, so it might have just been kind of a delayed rash or whatever. But yeah, I sprayed a bunch of poison oak this one time all over a hillside, but that was a little different because it was hard to even walk through there. So the last time I sprayed poison oak, I did get it really bad, but like I said, that may have been from cutting it with the weed whacker a few days earlier too. Got a little bit hiding out in this grass, but the grass is starting to get real dry, so I could spot the green. For anybody thinking about getting a Stihl SG20 sprayer, they're a really good sprayer. I haven't used a whole bunch of different sprayers, but I've used like the Field King. I had a little small 2-gallon pump Echo. And this Stihl is just the best, in my opinion. I love the wand, the action on it. It's very accurate. It stops the split second you release the trigger. And they'll spray a whole lot of gallons through them if you just take care of it, especially oiling it, like I showed, is the most important thing. But they also want you to put a little bit of silicone grease around the cap O-ring, that rubber gasket thing. It's like a gasket. And you want to put that cap on really tight so that when you tip the sprayer sideways with all that liquid, none of it leaks out and obviously rolls down on your back. So do put the cap on really tight. And since you're putting the cap on so tight, it'll preserve the seal, I guess, if you put some grease. I think it might be silicone grease, but I'm not totally sure. Man, I feel like I've been jogging or something. I got that like deep burn in my lungs right now. It feels kind of good, but I'm glad it's not a hotter day than it is. I just slipped and fell down again. What's new? And there's not really that much on this hillside compared to other places I've seen, but everything I just sprayed was plenty of poison oak to make me very miserable if I just ran my weed whacker through it. So yeah, I don't voluntarily weed whack poison oak anymore. And also, if I see a wasp nest, I will not run my weed whacker over the wasp nest. I just ran into that a couple days ago. I could see the young wasps all around this one area. I was lucky I hadn't have already been stung by that point. I went up to about 10, 12 feet close to the wasp nest, which is closer than I'd usually go, just to make the customer happy. Hands are getting warm in these gloves. And yeah, these gloves might be a little overkill, but I've had them for a while. I like them. I know these ones have been here for a little while, right here. See, that's what I was saying, is poison oak loves these logs and stuff for some reason. And yeah, this, I think poison oak grows, fairly slowly depending on what area you're in, because these have been here for quite a while and it's now just starting to turn into a thicker stemmed bush. The stem's getting a lot thicker than most of the other ones I sprayed today. So these can get pretty big if they're allowed to grow. Let's go ahead and fast forward a little bit. So I just weed whacked this area, and I just wanted to show you guys how big this poison oak can get when you let it grow. All these vines right here, that's all poison oak. It's sprouting up from the ground a little bit. Oh, my hat just touched the end of that stick. And it's a big vine crawling all the way up there. So all this stuff hanging down right here, I was careful when I cut around this. This stick right here, I moved this out of the way. I had my glove on so I could weed whack, and I thought it was part of the oak tree, but now that I'm looking at it, this might be part of the poison oak vine. The crazy thing is, the stuff in this poison oak that your skin's allergic to, it's called urushiol or urushiol. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but this stuff stays active for about 5 years. That wind sure feels good. So yeah, guys, when you're mixing up your glyphosate, around 3 ounces or so is really all you need for most weeds and grasses. You can even use 2 ounces. I went ahead and used 5 ounces per gallon on this poison oak just because I wasn't really sure how much it would need. Considering these are smaller poison oak patches, the stems aren't real thick yet, I probably didn't need quite that much, but I wanted to go ahead and make sure it was effective. Normally, I don't use 5 ounces per gallon. Normally, I'd use around 3. And I did make up way too much today. I made 3.5 gallons, and I've got 2 gallons left, so I didn't even use half of it. But the water is kind of a long ways away. And when you're done with your sprayer, always flush it out with water, rinse the tank out a couple times, and then pump a bunch of fresh water through the pump to clean it all out. When you buy glyphosate, you don't need to get name brand glyphosate that's more expensive. All glyphosate is the same. Usually the concentrate will be 41%, so that's what you're gonna see on most jugs. It's usually quite a bit cheaper to get it in a bigger quantity, so I usually get it in 2.5 gallon jugs. You're probably gonna be paying maybe around $60 to $80 is a pretty good price. And you definitely don't need to get the name brand stuff. You just wanna make sure that it has surfactant in there. Almost all of them will. Pretty much every single one that I've seen has surfactant in there, but there may be some that don't, so you just wanna check. It'll say it on the label. It'll say glyphosate 41%, other ingredients 59%, or it might say that it's got surfactant in there. Surfactant is the wetting agent that makes the glyphosate stick. It needs some kind of like bonding agent that will make it stick to what you're spraying. So it's very important that it has surfactant in there, but as I said, most of them will. That's typically pretty standard. Thanks guys, I'll see you on the next one.